This is a quick how-to video on replacing the bulbs or even the entire cluster, the light cluster, on a Z11 Nissan Cube. In my case, I'm replacing the entire cluster because somebody just ran into the back of me a few minutes ago and they've actually smashed the tail light. So I'm replacing the cluster, but this is the same procedure even if you just wanted to change the bulbs. So firstly, you want to remove the retaining screws. I've already pre-loosened these to make it easier to film with one hand. You want to remove the two retaining screws for your number plate. One of my other cubes, I found they've actually stuck the number plate on with double-sided tape. So if you find you don't have retaining screws, you might just have to pry the number plate off. And my personal suggestion would be that when you put the number plate back on again, drill some holes in it so that you can actually screw it in place. And next time you need to replace the bulbs, at least it's just a case of removing the two screws, lift the plate out and off those two hooks, and then you're able to get in there whenever you need to in order to get to the light cluster. So the next step is to remove that little pop catch there and just take out this little backing plate. I don't really have to do it on mine because mine's broken, so I could have just lifted it away, but show you the proper procedure. Pull that out and then you can get to the fixing bolts which hold the lights in place. Again, I've already pre-loosened this for the sake of ease on the video. So remove that. It is a 10mm bolt, I do believe. Hang on a second. Focus. Yes, 10mm. So that is a 10mm bolt over there. Once you've loosened that, you need to slide the light away from the edge. If you find that it's sticking a little bit, then what you might want to do is get a little pry bar or screwdriver or something and just give it a bit of a push, but be careful not to damage the paint while you're doing that. In my case, as I say, because it's all pre-loosened, I'm just able to slide it across like that. This hooks in over here on this side. I don't know if you can see it on the film, but there's a little hook in there. So once you've slid that out, you're able to pivot the whole light cluster and pull that side out. So this piece here hooks behind there to retain it, and the little tag that I showed you a moment ago sits inside there. So that's how the whole light cluster sits in place. Now if you were wanting to simply change a bulb, at this point you just grab your relevant bulb, pull it out, put a new one in, and then you're good to go. Then it's just the reverse procedure. Put that back in, slide it all back into place. Job done. That's how to replace a bulb. But in this case, as I say, I am replacing the cluster. So what I need to do is just cut off all these little zip ties so that I can take the wiring off the back of the light cluster and completely separate the cluster from the car, leaving the wiring behind, and then I can put the new cluster in place. So I'm going to do that now and I'll be back with you in a moment. So once you've removed all of the cable ties, the wiring is completely free from the light, still attached to the car, and the light cluster is separate. So this is the replacement cluster ready to go in. So now it's just a case of doing this one-handed. It's just a case of putting all of these bulbs back in, and then run the wiring through all its hooks across here, reattach the wiring through the framework with the zip ties. So I'm going to do all of that now, because that I have to have two hands to do that, and then I'll be back with you again in a moment. Right, so there we go. That is what it looks like. Right, that is what it looks like now that it's all the wiring is tucked back under the various hooks and zip tied in place. So now it'll comfortably and neatly tuck away in there when we put it all back together. So, for those of you who were paying attention earlier, it'll come as no surprise to know that that's how you put it back together again. So that little metal hook slides back in there, push this across so that that little tag is in its slot, and tighten that up. I'll bore you by letting you watch me actually tighten a bolt, as if this is something that you can't figure out for yourself. Right, so tighten that up. Pop your little backing plate back where it belongs. Excuse me. Pop your number plate back on and put your screws back in. Of course, you want your number plate the other way around so it can be seen, but my number's secret, so I'm not showing you. Anyway, that's it, folks. I hope that you enjoyed that little video and that it was helpful as to changing bulbs or a rear light cluster on your Z11. Thanks for watching. Just a quick addendum to my video. Yes, I know I said thanks for watching and goodbye, but that was yesterday. Today I got in the car and I was driving down the road and there was something rattling in the boot. So I checked in the boot and there's nothing in there, and I thought, what on earth is rattling? And the only thing that I've done recently that's different is fit the replacement tail light. And then I discovered it was rattling. That was what was making the rattling noise while I was driving down the road. So I've just removed it to check why it was making that rattling sound. And I discovered that this little clip over here, which I have now pushed down, so looking at it from here, right, there we go, get a bit of focus. Looking at it from here, you can see there's hardly any gap there. That was actually open up to like where my finger is. It was open up to there. So there was quite a big gap there. And that hooks behind here. So even though this bracket was firmly tightened over there, you see there's a fair bit of flex in this part of the bumper. It's just a unreinforced piece of plastic. So that doesn't really hold the light in place in terms of forwards and backwards movement. It only holds it in place in terms of sliding it in and out. So sideways movement it holds it, but it doesn't hold it for moving backwards and forwards. And because this gap was so big, it was allowing the light to move backwards and forwards against this little piece here, and that was causing the rattling noise as I was driving down the road. So just a little tip, when you do put the light back in, make sure that this little metal clip is squeezed in quite far, and then as before, slide that in there, put that in there, and just push against the top here as you slide the thing across to the right to snug it into position, and you'll see it doesn't rattle. So just a little tip, something I didn't even realize until yeah, I drove down the road. So there we go. Once again, thanks for watching, and I hope that was a useful tip.